one of the things that I wanted to point out here is that, I alluded to this earlier, but that maps can help us build a better world. They're used to not just assess how things are now, but let's just take that precipitation map as an example. Okay, if current trends continue in certain parts of the world, what do we need to do to plan water availability, right? It bothers me as a geographer that a couple years ago, Atlanta, and you know how huge Atlanta is, had a 30-day reserve for water. What's wrong with this picture? How can 5 million people have a 30-day reserve and people aren't worried about that? So I worry about stuff like that. How can we plan for a future where we actually have enough water supply and that it's actually safe to drink? So, you look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, safe drinking water is one of the SDGs. And so all of these mapping tools help support the SDGs: poverty, water, economic inequality, education, etc. In order to understand and how to build into these SDGs so we can solve these perplexing problems, we need tools like maps. So this is a good example, I think, of maps helping to build a better world, and that's why I wanted to share this with you right now. And that is looking at a serious issue in a community, right? Ours included, traffic accidents. And this is another story map. It's a map that tells a story. It's an interactive story. And so we're going to scroll down a bit. This is a map of traffic accidents in a certain place in Florida. Okay, a certain county in Florida. As you can tell, it's along the Atlantic coast. And in the not too distant past, this is what we did with digital maps. We would map every point of, so for example, traffic accidents. Could have been invasive weeds, could have been litter, it could have been whatever. But in this case, traffic accidents. Okay, and we've got attributes: fatalities, injuries. I mean, this is grim stuff, but people want to know this because, okay, are there areas that we could maybe, with our limited budget, right? It always comes down to limited budget, limited staff, limited time in a community. Where can we focus efforts, whether it's crosswalks or better signage or whatever, to reduce these accidents? But in the past, we would sort of be inundated by a number of data points. As you can see here, I've got hundreds and hundreds. I got 700 points in here, and you can't really pick out patterns and relationships and trends when we map things like this. There's just too much data. So what we're doing now with our modern mapping is we're looking at traffic accidents, and we can aggregate in different ways. So we can make these hexagons, for example, and we can also run them through spatial statistics models to see, hey, do we have a hot spot? In other words, is there a significantly, in terms of statistics, difference in this area versus this area? And we can also do that in 3D so that we can look at these accidents where we can say, okay, I'm going to look at, I can drill down each one of these hexagons covering a certain neighborhood or certain sub-neighborhood in this county in Florida, and then I can look and say, okay, here we've got 21 crash counts. It's statistically significant at the 99% confidence level. So we can look at the legend over here in the lower left saying, okay, maybe with my limited staff, budget, and time, I can only look at the consecutive hotspots. So over a period of time, what areas of my community have statistically significant numbers of accidents? And that's where I'm going to focus. So that's just an example to me of, visualizing and mapping things in new ways can help us to direct our efforts. So we can, in this case, build a safer community. I don't have the budget and time to address every single place where there was an accident. Too many. But if I can, again, map it, I can help understand it better and then make wiser decisions. And that's really what all of this stuff today is all about, is making smarter, data-driven, geographically informed decisions for the future. So we're wrapping up our discussion for today, but just to get you anchored, is sort of coming around full circle again. This is a picture at our ESRI headquarters, our mothership in Southern California, and we've got a place that we all like to take our photos at. And it gets trimmed occasionally with the vines that are growing around it, but geography is really the anchor for all this. I like to think of geography as like this: geo meaning earth, and graph is to describe. And so it's a description of the earth. It's describing the human aspect and the physical aspect. So weather systems, oceans, energy, water, etc., but also human migration, human imprint on the landscape, whether it's urbanization, agriculture. It's not memorizing the state capitals, which is what a lot of people think geography is. It's not memorizing the imports and exports of Peru. Facts are good, and they can be useful, but the idea is geography is all about understanding the world in a holistic way, and then using tools like geographic information systems or mapping to build a better world. And I like to think of it this way, and I'll just close with this, and we'll see if we can have some discussion. What's where? Why is it there? And then why should we care? Why should we care about accidents? Why should we care about wildfires? Why should we care about water availability, migration, and all the other things that we've talked about today? Human health. We've talked about a lot of different topics, but they're all geographic in nature. And that's what I'm hoping to sort of get you curious about and inspire you with today. So that being said, questions, comments, issues?
I was just wondering if the government or any of the federal White House agencies are trying to shut down any of these climate maps.
No. They're extremely important, and I've got a new one to share with you. There is a story map that was released from we have a story maps team, and it was released a couple days ago about hey, what are we going to do if certain places warm up? So this is it's got graphs in it. You've got the human imprint on the landscape. So it's a series of maps and interactive charts to look at causes, consequences, consensus, and then what are we going to do about it? So this is just an example of a very compelling story map where there's a lot of ways to learn, right, folks? You can read about stuff, and here you've got text, graphs, maps, all in a story map form. So, again, this is the kind of thing where you can say, I don't have to be teaching a university course to understand this or to help other people learn. This is the kind of thing where you could actually share with colleagues, right, with family members, with others, saying, okay, here's the situation, and this is why mapping matters. So, but circling back to your, I think, point of all this is that, maps are powerful sources of information. So I want people to be critical of maps. Don't just accept it because it's a map. Where did this data come from? Is it accurate? Can I trust it? And so on. And so one last thing here. I've got if you look up the Spatial Reserves data blog, I know this sounds super boring. Oh, Joseph, your data blog. But the idea behind this data blog is being critical of data. And I'll show you just one example. It's called Spatial Reserves. So in this case, in this particular essay of mine in the data blog, I say, okay, even images, like I was referring to earlier, can be manipulated, not necessarily for nefarious reasons, but they're not like you would see if you would look over the airplane window or standing on the satellite looking down at the Earth. In this case, and I'll just leave this last example, this is an area west of Dallas, and it would never look like this. All of the vehicles that are moving have been removed from the image. Why? I'm just going to guess the DOT maybe wanted to look at the pavement and assess the pavement condition, so they needed to have the vehicles removed. So all the static vehicles, the parked vehicles, are still there, but there's an algorithm that the image was brought through to remove the moving vehicles. So again, be critical of the data. It doesn't ever look like this, even in COVID times when there were a few people driving around in the summer, right? It still would never look like this southeast of Dallas or southwest of Dallas on those busy intersections. So anyway, that's the Spatial Reserves data blog, and I'm hoping that that's of use too, because I've got all kinds of interesting stories, more of which I'll share next week. All right, folks, we're out of time, but if there's any other issues, and I don't have another meeting for a few minutes, but if Debbie needs to bolt and close this down, that's fine too, but I can stick around for a few.
I would like to make one comment for everyone, Joseph. Joseph has a lot of information out on our course materials page that you might find interesting. I'm going to send another reminder today. It will tell you that something was posted today, which is not true, but so that you will have the password and access to all the materials he has out there.
Debbie, how long does that stay up there?
So far, we haven't taken anything down.
Okay, thanks.
shortly after the end of the semester, we will take everything down.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for the questions and comments, folks. It's great interacting with you, and I hope that was worth your time. I know your time is valuable, so I want to respect that and allow you to move on to other things today. But we'll see you next week if this is of interest. And I don't know, Debbie, how the registration works, but hey, tell other people about this, because we're going to be doing some more stuff. And I can also, sort of come around at the beginning of next class to, okay, here's the context. So I won't just like dive in and I'll set a little context if you do want to invite some people for next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Class.
Thanks so much. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, folks. Map on. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Joseph.
Thanks, Debbie. Awesome.
So if I leave the meeting, I believe everybody's going to be gone.
Okay, but let me just ask a quick question. I have a terrible problem with directions. I actually have. Well, I want to go in detail, but I just is Joseph still there, Debbie?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay, I can't see you. Oh, there you are. But I'm just wondering if kids could be able to do this. I mean, I think this would just be a fabulous thing to teach. They have so many computer skills now, these young kids starting in elementary school. And I just think it would be fabulous to teach them how to do this, not just for the computer skills, but to learn how to gather information and put it together in a meaningful way.
Oh, I'm right with you. And this particular map with these little red schoolhouses, hopefully you're still seeing my screen,
Yes.
is all of the schools. This is just U.S. This is a global program, but just on the map, it's just U.S. These are all the schools that actually have the same platform. They get it free. There's nothing to buy. They just need a champion teacher. So we do a lot of teacher professional development at the K-12 level of exactly what you're talking about. Hey, you can use this in geography. You can use this in environmental studies, in mathematics. There's a lot of math in this stuff, in history courses, or in technology courses. So you're exactly right. We're right with you. And so we've been hammering away at that K-12 zone for, since 1992.
Is it in the curriculum anywhere? Do you know, or is it just like a special thing?
Sometimes it's in the spatial thinking and spatial analysis are in various states' curriculums, and also it's in the content standards in geography and social studies, and also in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. It depends on how you want to, what tools you want to use, but I agree with you. This, to me, because the students are using a professional tool when they're using digital mapping. They're going to encounter it in government and business and, healthcare and so on. So you know how a lot of students say, well, when are we ever going to use this after we graduate? In this case, I like to say, yes, you actually will use this, and it's a good career skill to build. And so, that's part of the compelling argument.
They can use it on a level that whatever they want. How many dogs are in the neighborhood? Where does everybody have a cat? I'm allergic to cats. Can I stay away from here? I don't know if they could do that, but
yeah. And in fact, I was I was in a meeting with some business professors yesterday, and I actually did that kind of analysis, like the granularity of the data that you can get. And this is all, in this case, consumer preferences from credit card purchases. So who's bought a pet in the last 6 months? Who's gone to a veterinary service in the last 6 months? Who has more than 2 dogs and more than 2 cats? I mean, it's not individuals. It's all aggregated to, neighborhood level and zip codes and so on. But still, being able to use that, and the students are always like, wow, that's fascinating. Yeah. So then I couch it in a little activity where I say, okay, you are going to cite a dog, pet sitting service. Where would you do that? What's the best place in Denver to do that? And so, I'm right with you. Thanks for bringing all that up.
Hey, Joseph. Is there a site where they can just kind of sit and play with it themselves?
Oh, yeah. So we have a whole set of resources on our school site. Yes, someone else had a question?
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm going to pull this up while I... Yeah,
Joseph, you said to find the links in your presentation. I assume you mean the presentation today, and is that online somewhere?
Yep, I put it in the chat box. Let me put it back in there. But here's our schools page back on what Michelle and Mike are talking about. So that SWAY presentation has all the links and more, like I was saying at the very beginning, things that I'm not even going to be able to cover. As you can see, I'm only on number 3, and we got 10 in there. Yeah, so I guarantee I'm not going to be able to go through them all, but you can. You can do it on your own. You don't even need me. Forget about it.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I want to play with it because I never know where I am in the world. If I don't have a map, I'm out of luck.
Oh, awesome! I'm glad to hear that you're excited about this, as am I. And thanks for your support, Debbie. You are awesome. And folks, keep on mapping. And I will see you next week, and hopefully maybe a couple of your friends.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Joseph, can I ask one last quick question?
Of course.
Is there some master directory somewhere that pulls all this stuff together and enables you to see what's out there and search and that kind of thing?
Well, one resource is the Living Atlas of the World. Now, when I was at all those federal agencies, I always wanted to have a one-stop shop for all things geospatial data. And this isn't it, but there are about 8,500 layers in here. As you can see, Living Atlas of the World. So you've got hurricanes and a lot of the stuff that I showed today, wildfires, population. So, this is contributed to by NOAA, Census, United Nations Environment Program, World Health Organization, City of Lakewood, et cetera. So this is a good start. Again, it's not every single thing mapping. There are other mapping platforms, Google Maps, and there's others that we'll talk about next week. But this is a nice place to start.
All right. Thanks so much. I'm kind of a map nut. This was fantastic.
Good. Me too.
Yeah.
Joseph, if you would send me those links, I'll put them on the course materials page, and people won't have to try to pull them out of the chat.
Here, I'll put this last one in here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, folks. We'll see you soon.
All right, bye.
I wore my map tie in your honor today, folks. I just wanted to mention that.